welcome Ian Giles, Global Payroll Director at Dayforce. Welcome to HR and Payroll 2.0.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to have a conversation with you.
Yeah, good to see you, my friend. Man, I always love connecting. We always have such good, riffs, I guess you could say, on what's going on, man. But what's your pulse right now on the global payroll community?
I think it feels more brought together than it ever has been.
Yeah.
And I would have to say that I believe it's from a good point of view, but it's also from a very wary point of view. Everybody is obviously talking about AI at this moment in time. And I think there are lots of people that can actually see the benefits of it. The fact that payrollers are actually going to get to be more strategic, get to do more valued adding activities. But there are also lots of people who are actually in fear of their jobs.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get across to people that isn't the case. It is going to help payroll evolve more than it ever has done.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely a cautious optimism, I think, out there when you think about, the excitement for what AI can do. But then, hey, what does that mean for me? What is that going to mean for my operations and my team?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if I kind of look at it, and I've literally just had the conversation whilst we're here at CIPP's ACE 2025 conference, I do see the more junior, the more graduate levels kind of disappearing in their original and kind of old format. But I do think that we are actually going to see people join the payroll industry with skills that we've never seen before.
Right. Yeah. I'm starting to see more MBAs, more data scientists, more technical skills. Yeah.
This is it. Absolutely. Yeah. I think we are going to see a lot more. And I'm kind of coining the phrase at this moment in time. We are actually going to see storytelling strategists,
right? Yeah,
and technicians,
strategic partners,
more than we have about before. We are hitting a space in payroll now that has been more real time than it ever has been, and it's in its entire existence, really. Apart from going back some 3,000 years, we look back all the way to the Mesopotamians and the Egyptians and other kind of eras. They were paid at the end of the day for doing work.
Right.
We have changed since we've introduced social security or national insurance in the UK and tax, since World War II and that kind of thing. And we have become more cyclical in what we're doing, but it is changing. It's just a fascinating space to be in.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. And so much of our workforce, I mean, not just payroll, but the workforce sort of rules and the way we do things is largely rooted in a time that doesn't exist anymore, in a manufacturing sort of world where, it's not really like that anymore. The 4-day work week is here, and the, gig working, obviously, contract working and just all kinds of things, remote working, all these things have completely changed the way we do things now.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of that is because for the first time in modern history, there are 5 generations in the workplace.
Yeah.
The eldest generation alphas are actually turning 15 years old this year.
Yeah. Wow.
So it makes me feel really, really old.
I know, right?
And so there will be 6 generations in the workplace, almost imminent.
Right. Yeah.
And they all want something different. So as a business, as a workforce, we have to change. If you want to be sticky, you want to be a destination employer, you have to meet every generation where they are.
Yep.
No longer can we actually be the regimented
one size fits all
fits all solution. It doesn't exist anymore, and it can't do.
Yeah, no, agreed. I think right now and into the future, flexibility is going to be the currency that you're going to win with in this.
It's going to be absolutely key. Like
climate,
I say, if you want to be a destination employer, you need to go the extra mile.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you got to give people the opportunity to shape an experience that benefits them, benefits their personal needs, benefits their outcomes that they're looking for. And we're all coming to work for the same thing at the end of the day, but for different and through different lenses.
Yeah, absolutely.
And expectations.
Yeah, I've been in the industry for the last 25 years, and me and my generation are wanting end of employment benefits. We're wanting retirement. We're wanting to know that our 401k is going to be exactly what it wants to be. Some generations, they are wanting pet insurance. They are wanting subsidized gym memberships.
Right. 4-day work weeks, unlimited PTO.
Absolutely.
Earned wage access,
Who doesn't want unlimited PTO?
Yeah. Well, they say statistically people don't actually take it when they do that.
Absolutely. Will agree with you. Yeah. I've seen stats, and basically employers that offer unlimited PTO, the average amount of time that an employee takes off is 22 days in the year.
Wow. Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. So look, you're on the front lines, man. Like, I really appreciate what you do for the community. You're very motivating and uplifting, and obviously a bit of a global payroll celebrity of your own way, man. You talk to a lot of practitioners. What are you hearing their lens is right now?
I'm hearing that they are more than happy that there are a few of us who are the voices for the industry. I think there are a lot of people out there now who are thinking, finally, there are people that are actually saying it out loud. There are lots of people that, kind of feel stuck where they are. They're not invested in, they're not respected, and they get on with the job because they know at the end of the day, the employee needs to be paid.
Right.
But we should be in a position now, we can have the conversation about the chief payroll officer and all of that kind of thing, but payroll deserves a strategic seat at the table. If you're not at that table, you're not part of the conversation, and
Right.
payroll needs to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they've at least got to be in the decision making of, and someone that can influence the decisions that are being made to make sure that it's safe for the business, safe for the, risk, right? Avoiding the risk,
Absolutely.
safety, and making sure employees are cared for and all of that too.
Totally. I've been in RFP processes, and I've been on the provider side of the table and I've been on the customer side of the table.
Right.
One of the conversations that I remember from being on the provider side of the table is that prospect actually bringing up a PowerPoint slide of their implementation team, their project team. There wasn't a single person in a payroll position on that slide.
Yeah, that's
and I said to them,
Shameful.
how can that be the case? How can you be best advised? How can the business be best advised if you are not bringing everybody into the conversation?
Right. All the touch points. Yeah. No. And payroll touches every people decision in the business, and every decision in the business generally touches people.
It's the only
in most cases. Yeah.
That it's the only function that actually interacts with every employee every single cycle.
Yeah.
Everybody is not a new starter. Everybody is not a new leaver every cycle, but everybody will get net pay every cycle.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yesterday we were in a session where we were talking software, adoption and that sort of thing, selection. And we asked they asked the audience, how many of you are replacing your payroll right now? And only a few people raised their hand. I think it was like maybe 6 or so. But then I asked further, well, how many of you would like to replace your payroll system? And about 3 times that went up, twice that went up. That's interesting, right? Because, there's a lot of opportunity right now to modernize and bring things forward for these folks.
Absolutely.
But not everybody's out there digesting it.
No, I don't think they are. And I think one of the fundamental reasons is payroll is so emotional. And the second it is broken, you have lost trust. It is a heavy lift and shift to go from one provider and one product to another. I think and I believe there are only a handful of reasons that people actually change product. You're in a large enough business where there is a procurement team and a calendar has kind of prompted the fact that you need to go through that cycle again. It might just be a pencil sharpening exercise. You might really be looking for a product. One of the other reasons is you are getting a bad service and you need to actually make that change. One of the other reasons is you get a brand new member of the C-suite in and they want to make big changes because they've seen a different way of working where they've been before. And that's absolutely great. Brand new set of eyes, brand new blood. Let's kind of improve what it is we're doing. And one of the other unfortunate reasons why payroll gets changed is because one of those people in a high position doesn't get paid.
Right. Yeah. Right.
And there's a lot of noise there.
I call it the payroll iceberg. They see just a little bit on the tip, which is normally their check or noise from checks, maybe a report or two, but they don't see all that goes on and all the dangers under the water.
No, absolutely. And it is a big consideration. You really need to do your due diligence and your discovery. I think those are 2 of the most important phases in the implementation and that change process themselves. If you do not do all of that work up front, it doesn't matter what you pick, you're not necessarily going to optimize what it is you're doing.
I would agree. I think there's a lot of folks, and we just kind of proved this a little bit in or got some data points around it anyway in the Payroll Profession Confidence Index. Is we asked about vision, strategy, and roadmap, and only about half actually have that. And I find when I talk to a lot of buyers, particularly large buyers, when you ask them, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? What's your vision for payroll? They just sort of look at you like, It's like there's this idea that we're going to do global payroll, we're going to do a transformation, or we're going to do AI. I'm being kind of funny there, but the point is that that's the wrong thing to do. It's kind of a ready, fire, aim when you need to be ready, aim, fire, and there isn't that preparation and thought put into what do we want to be and where are we trying to head, versus just sort of solving for right now in the moment, which I feel like has historically been what we've done with payroll, right? It's a catalyst thing where there's either a pain or a failure, or we bought something or we sold something. So now we got to go and address payroll, versus stepping back and saying, hey, I want, we don't have any CEOs out there saying, I want payroll 17. I'm referring to the iPhone, right? No one's getting in line for payroll 17 and 18 and 19. They're reacting to something. And I wish we could get more organizations saying, hey, we're going to invest in payroll and we're going to double down on it, solidifying our strategy and making sure that it can go where we're trying to get to. Because again, we see so many of the payrolls out there aren't viable to align with what the business is trying to do strategically. And I don't know that their C-suites know that.
No, I don't think so. And I think
so. You're not ready. You're on roller skates on ice.
Payroll has always been this back office function sitting in the background, and as long as it is quiet, there is no noise. It is just a transactional
out of
function.
sight, out of mind, right?
It is, but that shouldn't be the case. Like I've said, they should be at the forefront of decision makings. We are in an era now where real-time data analytics is changing the future.
Yeah.
We have always been in a position where something has gone wrong in payroll, but we've only found out after we've actually sent money to employees' bank accounts. That means, at best case scenario, the next payroll cycle would be where we're at that correction. We are at a point in time now where we can actually see information before we commit. We can make strategic business decisions and forecast the future. And we can do that. I think back to when I first did payroll, it was 500,000 keystrokes a week, and it took an army to actually get that data to close out the payroll.
Yes.
And there are still businesses closing out payroll and getting all the information to the GL 7 or 10 days after the cycle.
Yeah.
That's good
crazy.
To anybody.
That's crazy. Yeah. And I think, with what you guys are doing at Dayforce, right? Continuous calculation, Dayforce wallet, and some of the automation on the front end to gather that data. We're almost talking about the extinction of pay cycles. In the future, you could see it happening.
Absolutely.
They're shrinking.
And I think we have come full circle. Like I say, if we go back to when we first started paying people, whether or not that was in beer and grain or salt or whatever it was, because we didn't have coins, we paid people at the end of every day. It hasn't been, it's only been because of the introduction of tax, national insurance, and all the rest of it that we've made the payroll cycle more static. We are in a position now where earned wage access, pay on demand is shaping the future of how we pay employees. It's absolutely great. I wasn't an advocate for it because I didn't see the correct levels of financial education from an employee's point of view, from an employer's point of view. You can't give somebody a tool like that without telling them what the pros and cons are. It's out there for all kinds of reasons. People use it because their car needs fixing, their washing machine's broken.
Yeah.
They want to make plans, but you are seeing people with higher, 6-figure salaries who are cleverly using it to actually pay down on mortgages. You imagine being able to take 10 years off your mortgage. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Net present value, right?
Absolutely.
Money now is worth more. Yeah. And I get it. And listen, who cares the reason? This is one of the barriers that I don't know that people realize about earned wage access. I've studied this greatly in many, many, many forums. I've done it formally in surveys. I've seen data. I have actually polled audiences. I've polled various different groups. And what I find is payroll is commonly the biggest barrier. And I understand, right? They're inherently risk managers that are trying to guard the house.
Yes.
I have the utmost risk. It's in my DNA. I was a payroll leader.
Too.
Yeah, I get it. I'm a risk adverse person. But we also can't project our beliefs and our needs and our thoughts onto other persons. Go to that five generations in the workforce. What my 21-year-old wants and what my 30-year-old wants are two totally different things. And his expectation and her expectation and reasons for coming to work, he's all about his car. She's all about her dog. You know what I mean? I joke. That's why she comes to work. I probably told that 1,000 times. But who am I to tell them what is good for them as an employer? It's up to me to offer that platter of options, those flexibility enablers, and say, hey, pick your own path, pick your own adventure. And if what you need to help you is earned wage access, or you want that because you want to buy crypto early, or you want to get your investments done early, or pay off a thing or solve a problem, who am I to tell them what to do with their money? I wouldn't do it after hours. So why am I doing it? Why am I doing it during work, right? Why am I not enabling them to be as successful as they can be in every way possible? I think what we're seeing with the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, whatever it is, in America, is they're really fundamentally saying, listen, payroll should be free to access, but there can certainly be options for people to pay to be able to get it, right away. I mean, I bank. My bank is an American bank in my business. And if I want something to if I want to take a withdrawal from my bank, it's pretty much free. But if I want to get it like right now, it's $2.95 or $1.95, whatever it is. I think that's fair. I understand that. But the point is I have that option to get it free. And I think that's what the states are saying is, listen, we need to at least give employees the option to have their pay for free. And look, I think that at the end of the day, things like earned wage access and instant money movement, right? Or digital money movement, businesses are doing it. Everyone's doing it. Everyone's moving money that way. I mean, here in town, back in the US, we're still using cards a little bit more than probably most. Here in the UK, I haven't seen anyone pull a card out. Everyone's bumping their watches and using their phones.
Yeah.
No one takes a card. Really, I mean, no one really uses a card. So I think we're going that route anyway, societally, right?
Absolutely, I think so. I mean, in the UK, we have limits where we can tap cash out and that kind of stuff, but that you actually need to physically use the card with chip and pin. But I carry mine around with me, and I literally do not take them out unless I'm actually trying to buy, a flight to somewhere that I really do need all the details of security.
Have to punch in the number or something. Yeah.
But it is changing, and if I think about payroll and payments, I think too many people believe that the payments part of payroll is a completely separate something. To me, it's the end of the cycle.
Yeah.
And
it's the last step.
And it's part of it. It is the last step, exactly. And
the most important part.
The most important step. We all want paying. It's okay, go in the process, but until somebody presses that big magic shiny red button everybody believes,
I'm sure as a payroll leader, you remember we've all had a time where the file didn't get sent back in the day, and some direct deposits were delayed or something. I've seen that happen.
Absolutely, I've seen it. I've managed very, very large payrolls, and I've never had 100 thank yous every single month.
Yeah, no.
I have actually had the 5 emails from people that haven't been paid, and then generally found out that somebody hasn't onboarded a new starter, an employee has misfingered their banking details and that kind of stuff. But everybody actually sees it as a payroll problem because the word payroll is associated to it. It's a shared responsibility.
Yeah.
Personally, if I join a new business or I actually want to enter my bank account details in anything, I will check it 3 times.
Yeah.
I want my money to go where it's
supposed to. Right? Of course.
Exactly when it's meant to be.
Yeah. No, totally. So look, we would be foolish not to talk AI. I love it. I'm excited for it. I think it's creating the golden age of payroll. I think we're in a moment now where we've got the attention, the innovation, the money. It's all here. It's all here. And now it's time for payroll leaders to really step up, use that rich data they have, their emotional intelligence, their business leadership. They are business leaders who just happen to sit in payroll, and step out and really shine, right? And I think it's just so exciting. But there's a lot of cautious optimism, and I understand it's a trust factor. And payrolls, of all places, as guard dogs they are, guarding the house, they're gonna have to get really, really trustworthy of it. And but what are your thoughts, man? What would you say about it in terms of just what you're hearing from folks?
So I personally think we're actually in a great space, and I think a lot of people are actually starting to look into what it can possibly do for them, what it can do for them today, and what it will be able to do for them in the future. I think we're actually only in the first stage of 3 of AI. We're in a place where it does what we train it to do. We will get to a point in time where it's doing absolutely for us, and we will become the guardrails. We will be the last line of defense. We will be audit. We will be governance. We will be more strategic than we have ever been. And that's because, like I say, going back to my very, very first payroll, it was 500,000 keystrokes a week. And I'm talking in the days where you weren't allowed a second monitor. You printed everything out. You ran your finger down the screen. You had a ruler and a highlighter and a piece of paper. And that's how you did your anomaly checking.
Yep. Ticking and tying.
What used to take me hours to do anomaly detection can be done in seconds.
Yes.
It is absolutely crazy what we can kind of do with that now. And because of all of that information, pre-commit, we can provide the most valuable statistics and information and data that a business can possibly use. We are in a position now where we can actually say costs in overtime in China were this, and they were 23.78% less or more than they
Yeah.
were in the last cycle. Maybe we should be looking at where we're actually doing the work. Should we be doing it somewhere else? There are so many things that we can actually get out of AI. It's like I
Oh,
say,
agreed.
absolutely
Agreed. And
fantastic.
imagine when you pair that with other data, other HR data, other workforce, strategic workforce data, ops data, external data, market data. Now all of that data is working together. You're talking about a very predictive opportunity and the ability to see around the next corner and pivot and
Absolutely.
nudge and move out of the way of volatility and competitive nature, or competitive impacts. I mean, that's exciting. That's a business. That's a real business impact, right? From
It
payroll, direct from
absolutely
payroll.
is.
That has nothing to do with paying people.
Yeah, totally. And
Nothing.
I look at payroll in 4 levels of maturity.
Yeah.
When it's not great, it's immature. It can be immature because there are so many handoffs, so many different products within the tech stack, inexperienced staff. Then you get into reactive, whereas I think the majority of payrolls are, we act from one cycle to the next, never improving, constantly firefighting, but we're slightly better than that previous level of maturity. Then you get into the controlled side of things. You are improving every single cycle. You are reducing your tech stack. You are working with partners and not vendors. And that's a very, very important, something.
Right.
There are lots of people out there that can do great things, but if you really want the greatest of things, you need to be working with a partner. And the final level of payroll maturity is the strategic side of things, where you are advising the business. And payroll is becoming the greatest strategic advisor in business that businesses have never even realized they've got.
I agree. And I don't think they realize the risk that they're operating in and how much their strategy is at risk when payroll is not in that fortified position and at the table.
Absolutely. One of my biggest pet peeves in payroll is what I call payroll leakage. And I don't like to use the word payroll leakage because it's it's a shared responsibility. I worked in a business once, came in as a fresh pair of eyes, looked at what I considered to be a problem, changed the payroll cycle from monthly to weekly in arrears, saved the business £250,000 a year.
Yeah.
And that's since 2017, 2018. That is a lot of money to be kept back in the business for an operating cost. The money that's not leaking out of the business is also an increase in salary, a commission, a bonus, money better spent than going to employees that don't deserve it, shouldn't have it, or have left the business.
Yeah. Agreed. And hey, and when you find that money, those are opportunities to turn it around and use it as a self-funding upgrade to what you're doing, right? Reinvest that back into your infrastructure.
I'm not quite sure whether or not payroll, other than from a bureau point of view or from a vendor partner point of view, is ever going to be revenue generating.
Yeah.
But we can actually turn it around so it doesn't cost the business as much money as it has been.
Exactly. Yeah. Clean that up. So look, what advice would you give to payroll leaders out there that might not be in the best shape and ready for kind of what's coming or have a lot of work to do still, or maybe you're in an organization that aren't necessarily valuing them in the way that they should be?
I think we need to think of payroll as a community. There are lots of people who are out there that have been in their position, who have seen the good, the bad, the ugly of payroll, have lived it, breathed it, and have actually moved, far beyond where they are and into a good place and where they want to be. Speak to people, voice your opinions, don't be afraid to actually challenge the status quo. One of the worst phrases in the English dictionary is "we've always done it that way." For me, that is for the dinosaurs. We know what happened to the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be left behind. If you are not ready to make change, to adapt to AI, you are going to be left behind.
Yeah.
We have to be different people now. I look back to myself maybe 3 years ago, and I was a lot of those people. I've taken myself out of my comfort zone, and it has been hard at times, but I feel like I've grown personally more as a payroller, as somebody that can share my experiences. And we do have to share our experiences.
Yeah. Agreed. I love that. Yeah. I think it's time to get get comfortable being uncomfortable, learn, unlearn, relearn, and just stay very, very agile. And I think if payroll can do that and utilize this technology to their advantage and put it to play in all the ways that you've always wanted, all the problems you've always wanted to solve, like right now is the opportunity. This is the opportunity, if ever.
I think it absolutely is. We are in a great space and it is only going to get better still. So get on board now. Learn as much as you possibly can. We are never too old to learn something. We are never too old to have a conversation with somebody and ask for help. More importantly, there are better ways of doing something than you are doing now. No matter how good it is, there will always be around the corner the next development in payroll to make your life easier, to make what you do more strategic, and for you to add more value to your function and to the business you work for.
Yeah, agreed. Ian, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. And looking forward to seeing you next week in Vegas.
It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yes, sir.